So despite Facebook's blackout on new political ads in the week leading up to the presidential election, Americans actually saw more political ads that week than they did the week before. That's according to a Globe Witness, a human rights group that supports tech regulation. Naomi Hurst, their digital threats campaign leader, is with us now to talk about the effects of this ban. So, Naomi, Facebook made a really big deal out of this, right? That they were going to restrict new political ads, especially in this what is typically a very tense time where people are making their last-minute decision about who to vote for the last week before. And they also wanted to make sure that there wasn't any damaging misinformation, like the stuff that may inhibit people from actually going to the polls, telling them that the polls were closed, or something that was just, clearly meant to suppress the vote. But people ended up seeing more political ads. How did that happen?
Sure. Thanks for having me. That's absolutely what happened. So in the week before the US election, Facebook did say that they would ban new political ads from being shown on their platform. They said that this was for scrutiny purposes. So we took them up on the invitation. We took a closer look and we found that, no new ads were being posted on Facebook for American viewers. But what we found instead was that, 5.3 billion impressions were made that week from political campaigns and political groups. And that's really worrying for us for two reasons. One, as you say, we simply still don't know enough about whether or not those ads were actually properly scrutinized. And similarly, and more concerning to us, we just simply don't know how those 5.3 impressions were targeted at US voters. And that's a real problem for us. We have no idea if these ads were micro-targeted. And, our position at Global Witness, there is just no place for targeting people by race, gender, sexuality, by their online behavior in a healthy democracy. And it poses a real concern. Micro-targeting means we can, advertisers and political advertisers alike are able to really drill down to very narrow groups of people. And there's a real problem for us. This can create echo chambers. It's having an effect on fracturing political discourse. What if, for example, bad faith campaign promises are made to one group and not to another? What if what happened in the 2016 election was the Trump campaign managed to identify and target 3.5 million Black Americans under a deterrence campaign to stop them from getting out to vote. So the fact that Facebook is just not telling us enough about how Americans were targeted this election. So we could see kind of what the hundreds of thousands of ads on their ad library that they've made open, but who was getting those ads and why were they targeted and what kind of messages were individuals getting? I think what we have seen in the UK around the Brexit referendum, from where I'm speaking today, and evidently what has happened in the US over the election, real fragmentation of political discourse. And that is really down to, in a huge way, the micro-targeting that platforms like Facebook are selling to advertisers.
Yeah, can we sort of parse that out a little bit more? Because I really want people to understand, because I think people might start to hear this discussion and go, well, what does it matter? The election's over. Why are we discussing, what happened a few weeks ago with Facebook ads? But I do want people to know that the way this micro-targeting works, it has the ability to overly amplify a specific voice in your bubble. At times it makes you feel like a larger percentage of the dialogue, of the concerns are focused on this sort of one tiny topic, whatever it might be, and it sort of has an impact on the way you see the world. So can you just talk about just how damaging it can be? Because micro-targeting sounds like a good thing. This is what people who want to sell cars want to do. They want to only target, someone who's probably going to buy an expensive car. They don't want their ads to show up in front of the eyeballs of 12-year-olds who can't drive a car. But when it comes to political ads, this can be dangerous, especially the nature of the political ads these days.
That is absolutely correct. I mean, I'll take an example from where I'm sitting here in the UK. In the lead up to the Brexit referendum a few years ago, certain men were being targeted with certain messages about the benefits of leaving the EU, and women were being targeted with a different message. As you say, there are products out there on the market that are for men and are for women. politics isn't for men and it's not for women. It's for everybody, and everybody should be able to see exactly what political parties are promising. Imagine, as you said, you can't have a good faith conversation with your neighbour if you're being seen specifically targeted with different political messages. And how do we know if the politics isn't out in the open, how to hold our politicians to account after election results are in? It's entirely conceivable and possible for political parties to send different messages that contradict each other. And that's what happens to us in the UK. And I wouldn't be surprised if more messages are coming out, more investigations around this election, if that was the case. I mean, we simply don't know enough. Facebook will make a big song and dance about what the responsibility it's taking to protect American democracy. Mark Zuckerberg, and when he announced his policies, said we all have a responsibility. And he's right, we all have a responsibility. But in my view, Facebook isn't taking enough responsibility itself.
So listen, Facebook, stopped these political ads. They haven't allowed them back on the platform. Do you know why that is? The election's over.
We just don't know, and I think that's probably quite a difficult answer to keep hearing, but that's the central point. Facebook is giving us transparency to a degree it is happy with. You'll often hear Facebook described as a black box, right? So it's just all this information is swirling around. It's like some kind of magic algorithms, and no one really knows how it works. I don't think that gives the likes of Mark Zuckerberg or any of the big tech platforms enough credit for how good they are at what they do, which is selling advertising. We prefer to think of them as something like a walled garden, right? So everything inside their garden is beautiful, it's perfect, it's designed. But unless you're sitting in Silicon Valley, you're not allowed in. And we need to break those walls down because our democracy is too important to let tech platforms come up with voluntary, ad hoc and insufficient and ultimately token measures to try and protect our democracy, which is what we're seeing now with the extended blackout.
Yes. Naomi Hirst, thank you so much.
Thank you.